see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, dude, it's good to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you since that dealer show, actually.
Yeah, I think that was the
Yeah.
last time we saw you. Yeah,
Oh,
I think that
dude.
was the very last time. Yeah. How you been?
Oh, I've been good, man. I've been busy, just trying to, keep the hustle going and all that. How about
Dude,
you,
I've
man?
been I've been watching you doing the podcast stuff. Dude, you're killing out.
Thanks,
You've been
man.
doing a lot of good stuff.
I appreciate that, man. I'm
Yeah, of
trying to
course.
put out the best
Well, it's
content I
just
can. So,
yeah. Well, it's good to see like someone in Arizona is doing something like really like good. Like you're doing it the right way, which is really cool. I appreciate that.
thanks, man. I appreciate hearing that. That means a lot. I started it for you guys. I started it to, help musicians understand the industry, and I'm glad to know that I'm doing that. So.
Oh yeah, no, dude. I've been watching it. I'm like, damn, dude. Like, who's teaching this guy this stuff? Because like he's just killing it over here, you know?
It's just a lot of time, man. I've spent 12 years in the industry. I've
Yeah,
been on a few tours and stuff and done a few things.
yeah. It's crazy because me and Caleb actually we tried doing a podcast like last year, and like a lot of people don't really realize how much work really goes into a
Oh,
podcast
dude, yeah.
until you actually do it, or like even just content creating in general. And people are like, you see it for like 10 seconds on on social media, and you're like, okay, but little do people know that took like hours to do.
Yeah, true.
And I know that's what you're doing.
It's
Yeah,
true. I do like 3 or 4 interviews in a week sometimes, and they'll take me
yeah,
like, it's like a 45 hour conversation at least, and then I have to edit and all that. But I love doing it. I'm not complaining by any means.
yeah.
I absolutely enjoy what I do, and I love, bringing that knowledge to people. So
Sure.
yeah, so let's get right into it, man. I wanted to ask you, one thing I wanted to ask you for sure, like to start off, is what exactly is Mark Life up to during pandemic?
Oh, dude, we've been up to a pretty good amount of stuff. So, right before, obviously last time we saw you at the Spy Dealer Burial show and all that stuff. Ever since then, we kind of we had a lot of songs that we even played when that show happened, and ever since then, though, we've been like trying to figure out recording studio, and then like we just got the deal with We Are Triumphant, so we were kind of trying to figure out like what to do, and like we were kind of like, well, we have a bunch of songs to record, and we're trying to figure out where to go to. And so during the pandemic, when that ended up happening, kind of like put everything on like this, not like a standstill, but it kind of put everything on like just like this really slow incline, just trying to
Yeah,
figure out how, like, there's so many things we had to adjust after the pandemic happened. And like music video shoots and like recording songs and like when we're able to go to the studio and stuff like that.
yeah.
And so well, to answer your question, we ended up recording um, a few songs all as we just announced that we're dropping an EP on September 4th.
Oh, okay.
So finally an EP is coming out from
Heck yeah.
us, so that's gonna be really cool. Really excited about it. And we shot the first music video done by Lance Gerger.
Oh
I
yeah,
think that's how
legend.
you pronounce his last name. Hopefully I
I
said it right.
I'm not even sure, man. I just know him by
Yeah,
Lance. I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
even
yeah,
pronounce the name anymore.
yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah,
no,
yeah, he killed it though.
Lance is killer, man. He's a great videographer for sure. I was gonna ask who you did it by, so I'm glad you
Yeah,
answered.
we did it with Lance, and let me tell you what, that guy, he's such like a hidden talent no one knows about.
Oh,
It's like
dude.
I would love for more people to book music videos with that guy because like he's just so good and so talented, but no one knows. No one
Yeah,
knows about him.
yeah,
So, but yeah, man. So we shot a music video. Well, actually, fun fact, we actually shot two music videos in one day. One of them has not come out yet,
dude.
and
I've
that
heard
is
that.
hard.
That is rough.
That is
Oh,
so hard.
I just recently went out with the boys in Smile on the Center, and
Yeah,
we were shooting 2 music videos back to back, and we did it over the
dude.
course of 3 days. But it was, oh my god, dude.
Dude, check it out. Doing that in Arizona,
Oh, dude, you're telling me, bro.
dude, we were exhausted. So, and I saw you guys like, what was it? You guys went to Globe?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, good night, dude. Globe is so extremely hot,
yeah,
too.
dude. And we were in this warehouse where it was like no AC, nothing. It was the worst
Oh,
thing.
God.
We had to bring this big like 2x12 base cab all the way down like 3 flights of stairs, and it was just
Oh,
it was a,
God.
a nightmare, man. But
Yeah. Was it hot like in the place?
oh yeah, dude. Well, we were in this like basement area, so it was kind of
Yeah.
like, I mean, it was lukewarm, like it wasn't too hot, but we had fog going, so it made it
Sure.
very humid. And it was just like, oh, after
Oh
a while,
God,
like
that had.
on day three, we were just like, can we get the hell out of here? Like,
Oh, dude, mixing that with like Arizona heat, it's
yeah,
just like that's just such a clash right there. The
oh, dude,
Titans, you know. Yeah,
absolutely.
no, that's pretty much exactly what happened with us. Thankfully, one of them we were able to shoot at night. The safe room video, we shot that one at night, so it wasn't as bad. But when we shot the other one, we actually went to Flagstaff, so it wasn't nearly as hot.
Oh
So
yeah,
it was okay. So but it was still pretty hot because like that was like when summer was first hitting, and we were like, oh, we got to shoot 2 music videos because as you know, half the bands in Arizona, half the bands in California. So it's a very limited time for us to all get together at one point.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, so we were like, well, 2 music videos it is, and so we shot two. One of them's going to come out the day of. So yeah, so we ended up going to the studio. We are shooting videos with Lance. We have a few other things that are on their way. I can't talk about it yet though
yeah.
until after the EP's dropped. So,
Understandable.
but yeah, no, it's there's a lot coming that's gonna probably last throughout the end of the year. So
Yeah.
we'll probably you'll be seeing a lot from us until pretty much the beginning of 2021, and hopefully by then we'll have even more stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's good, man.
Yeah.
I was really hoping because I've said it before. I've seen a lot of bands that are just kind of like sleeping right now. You know, they're not doing much.
This is not the time to sleep.
You know, and exactly, it's not the time,
Yeah.
man. Like if everyone else is sleeping, you should be that one band that isn't. You know,
Oh yeah.
like and I think I'm glad to see the Mark Life is actually doing things because I had a feeling you guys were, but you know, it's always good to like check in and make sure.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah, well, it's like you want to. I think it's really important to build very clean and good and impressive content. Content is just as important as the sound of the band as well as your presence.
Absolutely.
And I take that to heart. And I've been in bands in the past and whatever, and like learning from like things back then versus like now. I know like how important like content creation is, from your social media look to like even your band promos to even like recording quality. All these things I'm saying, a lot of people are like, that's common sense, but you see a lot of new bands nowadays, and you're just like for me, if I see a new band and like they don't have like a good look, or like their recording quality is not like at least decent, I'm kind of already tuned out with it. And then
Yeah.
that's not because I'm like downing them. It's
No.
just that's the market, you know?
Yeah.
Everything's
Absolutely.
so oversaturated nowadays that you have to stand out in any way you possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely. No, it's definitely important to have like quality recordings. I've talked about, you know, this before, and I'm sure you've heard
yeah,
about just like how bands want to like they want to look professional, especially like if you're a local band, say on a national showcase. Like for example, I'll use you guys for example since I'm
sure,
talking to you. The Dealer Burial Spite show that we were talking about that you guys were on. I had no idea that you guys were technically a local Arizona band because of the
sure.
fact of how pro that you guys portrayed yourself. Your performance was there. You guys had, you know, all your merch, your quality, like you guys knew what you were doing. And I've talked about how you want to seem like when you're a local band playing a national show like that, you want to
Yeah,
seem like you belong. You know, you want people
absolutely.
to think you're indistinguishable from that tour package. Um,
100%.
and going back to like recording quality and all of that, like, dude, it's not hard to get a quality recording nowadays. Like
It's really not.
you can pay like $300, $400, $500 to some guy and get him to record produce your song for you. Like Eric Jensen, for example, is a prime example. I think he charges like
That's who did our
500 a
stuff.
song. Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
dude, and he's like one of the best in AZ on that price range, in my opinion. Um, and
I think it's really important to have like everyone. It seems like nowadays, anyone can buy a Focusrite interface. Anyone can buy like a really good, a condenser microphone and like whatever, record whatever they want.
yeah,
But I think it's really important for newer bands to understand it's not just like even like having a good recording. It's very important to have a good producer who knows your sound
oh,
and knows
dude,
how to
yeah,
work with you too, because if you don't, I've worked with people in the past and I'm like this guy on the paper seems great, seems really cool, And then when it goes down to like business, it's like he's shit in the bed, you know. And it's
Yeah,
like you need somebody who understands you and you understand them, because you just need to like needs to be go go go,
absolutely.
and like the ideas need to fly, you know. And if it's like there's tension in it, it's really hard to have something good cohesive come out, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's to your point, like you want someone that, you know, vibes with you, someone that understands your music. Like for example, if you're a metalcore, hardcore, deathcore band or whatever, and you go with the pop punk producer, he's not going to understand what exactly makes a metalcore, hardcore
Oh
song.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
so I absolutely 100% agree with that. Cool. So let's talk about We Are Triumphant a little bit. I wanted to ask you some
Sure.
questions about it. How long have you guys been signed with them?
So we signed with them after we dropped the song Loner Wolf. We dropped that, I can't remember how long ago we dropped that. I think that was like right around October. No, no, a little bit earlier than that. I think we dropped it right around October, if I remember correctly. And when we dropped that, Greg Long from We Are Triumphant reached out to us, and he's like, "Hey, like, you guys are doing pretty cool stuff. Like, I'd be interested to get you on a contract." Well, actually, it wasn't even Greg Long who hit us up first. We got hit up by Famine Records first.
Oh, okay.
They were talking to us at first, and we were actually getting pretty serious with them, but then ended up coming down to Greg sent us a better contract.
Yeah.
And the contract ended up being pretty cool. And so pretty much we signed with them back in November of last year, but we didn't really announce it until 2020 happened, just because we're like, okay, cool. We'll announce the label signing 2020. We'll do this Varial show, and we're just, you know, we have all these other things lined up. It's going to be perfect. And so, you know, we ended up pitching it like that. So we signed in November. And we've been working with them ever since. And yeah.
What exactly has it been like working with Greg Long?
So it's been pretty good. You know, it's like it's interesting to see, because we're managed with the Dreamer agency,
Okay.
and we have We Are Triumphant as our label, and so it's really cool because we have kind of both of them working as like management and label. The Dreamer agency is kind of like a team of, it's like a label, but it's more of a management. They kind of like intertwine and like use the ideas the same way as a label. So it's we use the main guy who we work with in the Dreamer agency. His name's Cameron Norris, and Greg Long, and they work together to be able to find the best way to push our music out. And there's a lot of things ever since we've been signed to We Are Triumphant that I actually did not know about, like playlisting, and like just you know, how to do Google ads, and like, you know, how to really like get your stuff out there. And it's been a really nice insight, because, you know, for me, I'm like, okay, like when I first got into it, I was like, I'm not really sure if they'll really bring anything to us at first. Cause like at first I was always like, yeah, like cool, maybe I'll sign to a label one day, if it's really worth it. And at first when we got the deal from We Are Triumphant, you know, I'm sure everyone's heard like there's been some good things about We Are Triumphant, bad things about We Are Triumphant. I'm sure that's the rumor.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, I was kind of sketched out about it first too. And then you know, it's been really cool having Cameron and Greg work together to bring both knowledges together to kind of just maximize everything for us. From We Are Triumphant helps us with budgeting our music videos, to like, you know, finding the specific targets to target people when we release things. And Safe Room was our first real test, because when we did Loner Wolf, we just put the video out again. We dropped it, took it down from YouTube, had them just re-put it out to show we were on We Are Trump, and we didn't really push that one too hard. And so now that we're on We Are Trump, and Greg's been pitching us to like all these different playlist curators, and like having the inside scoop on Spotify and stuff like that. And so it's been pretty nice, because, you know, now that we're on We Are Triumphant, you know, our first week was the best week we ever had. And so we ended up getting on a few Apple Music curated playlists, and then Spotify did great the first week. I mean, you know, we're still like a pretty little band, so the first week I think we did 13,000 streams,
Yeah.
which was pretty good for our very first like
Yeah.
professional like whatever release, because the songs before that, Just Death and Loner Wolf, first week, I think before like we knew what we were doing, I think we had maybe 800.
Oh, okay.
So, it was a great improvement for us. I'm really excited to see what the EP is going to do. It's kind of like we're kind of going through this as like just a big learning process to see how this works, because I've never been on a label,
Yeah.
and none of the other boys have. Caleb, this is his first band he's ever been in.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, so it's been kind of like a learning process for everybody. Even though I feel like I had a lot of knowledge, and so does Cameron. There's things that Greg knows that even Cameron doesn't know. There's things that even Cameron knows that actually sometimes Greg doesn't know. So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool to see everybody just like combine together and like bring all this stuff. So it's been a pretty interesting learning process to see everybody just like showing us what we haven't been doing right, and how to be able to get like these big numbers that like these big bands are getting. And so it's been pretty cool to see.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought up the fact that you're still kind of a newer band, simply because like to me, you guys are kind of like the prime example of the type of band that I'm talking about on the podcast all the time. Like a band that starts and within like a few months they're signed and they're ready to go and they're doing all these crazy cool things. And it's like it's just cool to see that. Like you guys give proof to the rest that it's possible.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
so I'm
It's
I'm
definitely possible for sure. It's like a lot of people like have this like this misguided idea of just how how things need to be, and like it really comes down to just how like labels want to see you already professional.
yeah.
If you kind of come out of the gates just like, okay, like we're learning. Like I get that everyone learns, especially if you've never done it before. Just like podcasting, it's
Yeah.
like you have to learn to be able to get to like the big stuff. But like when you got to use that knowledge. Like back in the day, I was like, who cares? We don't need merch. We don't need promos. Throw up a stupid logo and like let's call it a day. But nowadays, it's like labels want to see like you have that logo, you have the promos, you have the good professional songs with a good production, you have a sick music video. You have a good look, you have the aesthetic, and like they kind of want to see that all done. And when we came out with those just two songs, we were a band for 5 months, hardly. The first music video, we hired on four other members just to play in the video with us.
Oh,
And
nice.
then yeah, so like we didn't even know like half
That's
those
awesome.
guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we had the guys from Orenda, the drummer from Orenda, and then we had this guy Ryan. He was the second guitarist, and then James. He was just this funk bass player that wanted to do it.
That's it.
So it's like we were just like hey, like come join in and help us do it. And then Jacob did the music video,
Oh, nice.
and yeah. So when everything ended up happening, we are just like, whatever, we'll just make this look as pro as possible. And then people need to realize that the more professional you look, it really matters. Like your look more than I don't. A lot of people
Yeah.
hate me for saying
It's
this,
true though.
but
It's true. It's 100% true.
yes, you know what I'm about to say. The
Yeah.
look matters almost more than the music
Yeah.
does.
It's true, man. Your
So
brand is everything. And like in today's day and age where everyone's online, like everyone is pro, like
yeah,
you gotta step above them. You gotta have the look. You gotta have the legitimate cover photo on your Facebook or whatever. You gotta have all of that because your brand is important. I've talked about it before. Talked about how bands are basically businesses and they need
yeah,
to be ran as such. And you wouldn't go into a Walmart if the Walmart looked like crap.
100%.
So
Yeah,
it's the same concept when it comes to bands and music and all of that.
yeah.
Cool, man. So you talked about being in some previous bands and music projects before. How long exactly have you been a musician? Like, tell me about your story.
Well, actually, it's funny. I was never a vocalist.
Oh,
It's
nice.
like like I do vocals now for Marked Life, and I love doing it. And like I've definitely like tried to like perfect my sound as much as I possibly could. But before this, when I first started as a musician, I wouldn't even really consider myself a musician at this point in my life. But at when I was in fifth grade, I did the trumpet,
Oh,
and ever
nice.
since then, I was like, cool. Like, I have no clue. Like, I would just like, they're like, oh, play the Banana Boat song for people who were in my age group. You understand what this reference is. But like, I'm like, just pressing the three buttons. I thought the trumpet was the easiest thing. I was like, yeah, whatever. There's only three buttons. How hard can it possibly be? And I couldn't get it. I was so shit. And so
Happens
after
to the
that,
best
I
of us.
kind of like, yeah. I didn't do really anything after that for a while until I hit middle school. I started playing bass guitar. Um, did a lot of lessons there in bass, and then I kind of just hung on that for a while, and then I joined my first metal band. Metal has always been the what I've been doing in music, and
That's
I
good.
didn't. Yeah, I didn't really do metal until I joined the first band, though, and so joined the first band. I played bass guitar. Still, really wasn't even that good at bass. I just kind of I knew how to keep a rhythm, and like I was not technical. I wasn't these guys who are like bang king come, you know. I wasn't one
You
of
were
those
still doing
guys.
it though, and that's what counts, man. It's like
That's true.
you learn to be good. Like as long as you're actually attempting it, like you'll
Oh
get there,
yeah,
you know. And
yeah,
you have obviously, so it's like,
yeah.
uh,
And let me tell you what. Thank God for MIDI, because
oh yeah,
that's
dude.
how. Anytime like I'm trying to like the guys are like me and the guys are together. I have this vision. I'm like, guys, I have this vision, and we should make a song that's like this. I'm like, bam, they're like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, here, let me just type it out on MIDI really quick. And I'm like, dude, whoever made MIDI, give that guy an Emmy award or
You're a
something
straight
like
up,
that.
yeah, dude. No doubt
Yeah,
about it. That dude, the guy who made MIDI, is a straight up like genius, and I love that
dude,
guy. So
it's probably so disrespectful. I don't know his name, but you know it. Whatever.
it's true though.
The guy's probably like, if you ever listen to Spotify, he's like, it's fucking me, George Klein, or something like that, you know?
Oh, it's true.
Yeah, but yeah, man. So I did bass, and then like after a while, I was in this one band, and I played bass for them for a while, and they like we just kept like cycling through vocalists, and so many vocalists just came through the band. I was like, you know what? Like, fuck this. Like, I'm gonna be the vocalist, and I like pitched it to the band I was in at that time, and they're like, all right, I guess Sam's gonna do it now. And I was like, I won't let you guys down. And I remember the first song I ever recorded. Oh my god! I have it, and it's so undeniably bad. Like not just like the structure of like how I place the lyrics, but just like my tone. Like I like learned to scream like a week earlier, and they're like, "All right, studio, we go." I'm like, "Cool," and I sounded like garbage, just complete garbage. And you know, and ever since then, like I just kind of like took vocal lessons myself. I kind of actually learned how to actually scream from Ryan Kirby from Fit for a King.
Yeah, yeah, dudes.
Yeah, and he has a really good technique, and like that's how I kind of learned to articulate my voice. You know, I call Ryan screams R screams because he does a lot of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he screams a lot like that, and so I was like, how does he do that? And like for a straight month, I was just like grinding on how to scream like Ryan. And finally, like one day it clicked, and I was like, oh, this is how it's
Side note,
done.
real quick. While you were grinding, how would you? Because I know like screaming in an apartment or something like that can be very difficult. So how did you like practice while you were trying to learn how to scream?
So back in the day, this is years ago. So I've been screaming, I think, for about oh boy, screaming, singing in general for about 5, 6 years now. And
Yeah,
I think the first time I did it, like I was practicing, like I said, for a month. I would just be in my car. I'd be like driving to work when I had like
yeah,
this company car, and I'm just
nice.
like, I'll listen to these bands, and I'd like, okay, what's a band that I could at least say the lyrics through all the way? I'll get the lyrics through. I'll try to remember the cadences, and let's try to copy it. And then I just for a month straight kept trying and trying and trying, couldn't get it. And then one day, I finally like what just got so frustrated. I just did something completely different. I was like, oh, that's it, and I found it. And
Nice.
even though I didn't sound like Ryan at all, I was just like, oh, cool. Like now I have my own like voice. And ever
Yeah,
since then, I've been just kind of like making it the Mark Life voice now.
yeah, there you go. Just keep building on it, man, for sure, for sure.
Exactly.
Okay, so shoot, I lost my train of thought for a second
All
there.
good. I talk a lot.
You know, well, we went on a side tangent. I started thinking about other things, and I was like, oh yeah. But
It's all good. I do the same thing.
so let's circle back to We Are Triumphant, because I
Sure.
know you had mentioned earlier there are some good things and some bad things that everyone has heard about We Are Triumphant, and I'm
Sure.
neither here nor there. I don't really care either way. I think if they hand you a good deal, sign that deal. But let's talk about your guys' deal. When you guys got the deal, being kind of a fresh band and not really necessarily understanding deals and all that, did you guys have a lawyer look at it, or did you guys
We
do it
did.
all yourself? Okay,
Yes. Yeah, we had a few different lawyers look at it
okay,
actually
very good.
because we were working with like Family Records for a second, and then we got this new contract, and we were like shit, like We Are Triumphant is decently bigger, and like who knows, maybe they have bigger connections. So we kind of took it a little bit more seriously, and so we took it to a few different lawyers. I overviewed it myself. The management team overviewed it themselves too, and we were just like, okay, like first of all, let's make sure it's not a 360 deal. Okay, that's
Yeah.
rule number one. To make sure it's not a 360 deal, unless they're giving you like hella money or something like that. And so it wasn't a 360 deal. It was actually a pretty good percentage. It was a lot of label contracts. Even actually, the when we were talking about our first contract, like a lot of labels will take a certain percentage, as everyone knows, from certain things. We Are Triumphant has no control over our merch. We have full control over it, but they give us a store. So
Oh, that's
like
cool.
what the cool thing is like we send them a design and it's instantly a shirt. So that's what the coolest thing about the contract is with them, is even though they take no percentage of our merch, we can send them a design. It goes up on their site called Merch Solutions or something like that, and it's instantly a shirt. So versus like if you're a band yourself, you had to cash out hundreds of dollars to be able to make 24 shirts to whatever, bring on tour and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We Are Trumpet. The great thing about them is that we were able to just like send them a design. We're like, hey, this would be cool on a shirt. Maybe you want to put this on a flag or something like that. And they're like, how about both? And we're like,
Yeah.
cool. So it's like, it's instantaneous for us. So that's really nice. And like, when touring comes back, if that's the case, we would be able to get bulk supply at like no cost, and we just pretty much recuperate it back to them. So they don't take any of our merch costs. They don't take any show costs. They don't take anything that it's like bands get paid a certain amount per show usually.
Yeah.
And they don't take anything of that. They just take pretty much music is like their main category. They're more marketing. This is one big thing I've learned about We Are Triumphant since I've been with them. Key thing with them is they are 100% a marketing label. Like they are just to promote the music. And a lot of people are like, you think of label, you think, you're going to get paid thousands of dollars for your signing. And then you're going to, some labels are like that. The big ones of course are like that, but like little ones like this, it wasn't necessarily like that. They're more interested in like the streaming, promotion side of Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Those are pretty much like the main things they really focus on, which they're really good at. And I'm really appreciative of that. But as far as everything else goes, as for help for like, making content or like, just like, like paying for pictures or like, anything like that costs like general money, like even music videos, we pay for that. Pretty much We Are Triumphant just puts their budget into marketing the songs online. That's pretty much their main thing. Everything else is kind of still up to us, which is why we kind of still keep the Dreamer agency with us, because they help us out with to be able to like make the content and stuff like that. So for people who are confused about like what We Are Triumphant specifically does, that's pretty much their main thing. That's 100% honesty. It's just it's been, like I said, good learning process, but they only do really specific targeting with the music and budgeting for the music. Nothing else. Like you don't get like you have to make them a budget before they give you a budget back. So like for this first stuff, we pretty much put the money all in ourselves, minus a few small things there here and there. But pretty much their idea is you give us what you got, we take that. We're going to give you a budget for the next thing. And then you take that and you're going to use that as your budget for the next album or EP that you do. So that's pretty much how it works.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was curious about that because I've heard a few bands from here that are signed with him and different things, and I've heard some things about We Are Triumphant, so I was curious about that. I did want to ask you, this is a little off topic, I guess, but
Sure.
I know we talked a little bit earlier about performance and just like how Mark Life performs, and I wanted to ask you like you know, it looks like you've kind of been doing it a while. Like it looks like Mark Life has been around for ages. It looks like you guys are pro as hell, in my opinion. And I just wanted to ask you how, like, what gave you like the motivation to be like, yo, we got to be the best. Like we gotta do this.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think the main thing is that, coming from like a band who like I was in, I'm not going to mention who the previous band was, but I was in this previous band for like, man, I can't remember. It was like 8, 9 years I was in this
Oh,
previous band. And like, I was in this band for a while, changed the name, rebranded everything. And like, I was kind of in that band as a person who didn't really make the decisions. I was just kind of always the person who was like, I was like, oh, what? I'll just do what I'm told. And finally, after a while, I started realizing I was like, I think I have some better ideas I can bring to the table. And when that band failed, I was just like, okay, look, I'm going to try this one more time. I'm going to give this band thing, one more go, and I'm going to do it my way this time, though. And so, when me and Caleb initially first formed Mark Life, like he'd never been in a band, and like, it's just like I've been having to kind of like teach him like, specific things that I at least knew over time. And like, I just told him like, even like I'll even critique big bands some days, and I'll be like, look, like performance is such like a big thing, and like I just took everything that I learned from the previous band, and I was just like, man, you really like you got to do it big. That's just the one
yeah.
thing I know. Like even stage performance, like I'm such like I remember when we first started rehearsing for our very first show, and I was like, look, guys, if you're not throwing your heads across this stage, if you're not cracking your skulls into the floor when this thing is going on, like I'm not playing this show.
Yeah.
Like the audience engages the band based off of how if they see that the band is into it, they're gonna be like, dude, I'm fucking in,
Oh my God, dude, I've been saying that forever. Absolutely. Like,
Yeah,
oh, dude, we as musicians, as bands, we are entertainers. Like
yeah.
we are there to put on a performance. We are there to put on a show. And if you're just saying like just sitting there playing your guitar like this, like
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
no one's gonna care, man. Like that's the
Yeah,
difference between local produce and national level bands. Like
yeah,
is literally straight up image and performance. Like if you
yeah,
can master those two
totally.
things, obviously, you know, you want to get quality recordings, all that. But
Oh
image and
sure, yeah,
performance, in
yeah.
my opinion, are 100% like the most important things when it comes to
It really
being a
is, dude.
professional band.
Oh yeah, totally. And you know what? It's like I'll even watch big bands nowadays. Like my favorite one to use is Veil of Maya. I remember when I first saw Veil of Maya live, and like the rest of the band is like throwing down on stage. I'm like so into it, and I'm like watching the vocalist. And for me, like this is my number one thing is like if I don't see a vocalist, just like if I see a vocalist not trying, like so I know there's techniques to doing screaming and singing. That I know there's both, but if it doesn't look like you're like into it or trying to be into it, then I'm not into it. And
Yeah.
so I remember the first time I saw Veil of Maya live, and I don't even know the vocalist's name, but everyone knows who I'm talking about. So I saw him live, and like the guy, he's what I call a show off vocalist. He's just one of those guys who's just like, check it out, I can scream like this and not even look like I'm trying. Just like he
Yeah.
doesn't even look like he's breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, the fans don't want to see how well you like scream. Like, of
Yeah.
course, like they want to hear it, like how you scream or whatever. But like, they want to see you like your own shit, and like you weren't liking your own shit on stage.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
people
yeah.
love to see, yeah,
Prime example. Yeah. Liking your own shit.
yeah,
That's absolutely, dude. Like you got to vibe with the music you're putting out there or other people aren't going to vibe with it, you know?
exactly. And like that's my biggest like stickler of like like I said, bands may have like super sick music, and I may be super into it, but I'm like, let's wait till we see them live.
Yeah.
And then I see him live. I'm just like, man, yeah, like you put out some good stuff, but like I just can't like I can't vibe with you while you're on stage.
Exactly.
It's just like a lot of bands do that though.
Yeah, yeah. I've been disappointed a few times.
Same.
You know, like
Me
you
too.
really like a recording or something. You're like, man, I'm so stoked to see this band, and then you go see him, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah, you're like you're. That's the problem with like with some bands that they make something so sick. You're like, man, I'm so pumped to like see them for the very first time. Let's go. And like for example, like actually, a lot of people may be surprised to hear this one, but when I saw Dealer, I saw
I
Dealer,
was
and I was
okay.
just
Okay,
like,
so I was gonna say it.
ouch,
I'm glad you said it, but
dude, it was
yeah,
rough.
yeah, dude. That's the show I was thinking about actually because I was in
Yeah,
love with their EP, dude. I was in love
same.
with their all of the shit they had released, and then I went and
Rest
saw.
in peace, Dealer, though. You know,
Yeah, dude. Oh man. Oh
dude,
man.
rip.
Rip. Straight up, like they stole the Alpha Wolf sound and made it popular, and then yeah, it is what it is. But
Dude, yeah, I know. When I saw them, I was so hyped because like they were right on after us. I was like, dude, we gotta pack the van. I'm going inside.
yeah,
I'm watching Dealer, and I'm watching them, and I'm like,
this
like, come
disappointing.
on, guys, come on, you know. And I was so pumped about it. And like that's the thing is like they had such a fat sound on their recordings,
So
but when it came down to perform, it was just
yeah, yeah, absolutely, dude. So I'm glad you bring up Dealer because to me that's the prime example of a band that kind of like they almost blew up faster than they should have. You know,
dude, so quick.
like they played really good music. Don't get me wrong, I loved their music,
Oh yeah,
but when it came to performance and stuff, they it seems like they were a band who was like, okay, we put out these really solid songs, and then like 10 minutes later, they got offered a international tour. You know, and obviously you're not going to turn down the international tour. But
yeah.
if you're a new band and you're not used to being in a band, you're not used to playing shows every night. You are not going to put on a good performance every night.
I completely agree.
It's just, you know, and that's goes back to kind of like making sure that you're pro before you start reaching out to labels and reaching out to like touring agencies and stuff like that.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I remember when I saw like I was like really stoked. I'd never seen Aiden live, the vocalist
Yeah,
of ex vocalist of Dealer,
yeah,
and when I saw it, I was like, man, I can't wait to hear how this guy sounds live. And like, dude, I swear it was like every 20 seconds the guy would hold out the vocal mic like this
yeah,
to the
dude.
crowd. I'm like, bro, like we want to hear you say it. We like say the thing, you know?
Yeah, say the thing, bro. Like he would skip straight up verses, and I'm just like, come on, man.
I'm like, bro, it's like it was like every 20 seconds. I'm like, no, you
Like,
can't do that, dude. Like, you're
dude,
not architects out here. Like,
yeah.
come on.
I'm all for it. Like I'm all for the crowd singing every once in a while, but like give
Sure,
us lines, man, not full verses. Like,
dude. I know. And I
yeah,
saw that. I was just like, come on, dude. I was like
come on.
rooting for him so hard.
No, I feel
But
that, dude. I feel that. Absolutely. Cool. So let's stop ragging on Dealer. I mean,
they already got enough problems right now.
yeah, they're already going through enough stuff right now.
Yeah.
But no, I for real, I do hope like the rest of the band kind of figures all that
Oh,
out.
I do too. Like, I met a lot of those guys, and like a lot of those guys were actually really nice people.
Yeah,
So I hope they ended up working that out.
yeah. Because I mean, in my opinion, like Dealer was one of my favorite bands of last year. So like to
Same.
see them kind of fall out just made me really sad.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
agree. I'm right there with you.
yeah, yeah, for sure, man. So cool. So well, obviously no shows. That's unfortunate, man. How do you feel about this whole
Yeah, I know.
no shows thing? Like how are you coping?
Well, it's interesting because like now like the new thing. Well, I guess like the new thing that's kind of happening now is like stream shows. So
Yeah,
like people are like renting out. Like I saw In Heart's Wake just do one where like they like dropped bags on like a venue and like had like this whole like light setup, different areas in like this room where they're doing different part, like an acoustic area, like the full band area, like a different full band area, single shots area with like multiple camera angles. I'm like, it's very interesting, because like I'm seeing like well, we kind of just got our first show offer just like about a week ago to do like a live stream show
okay.
with two other bands. So it'd be like if we were doing a show with two other bands, and there'd be multiple camera angles, like a sound mixer to mix it live. Well, actually, no, it wasn't a sound mixer that mixes it live. There'll be a basic sound mixer. There'll be no one in the crowd. They record it like on a Thursday, and apparently, what happens is they record on a Thursday, drop it on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Oh, okay.
And I guess it's like, streamed across whatever website. And it's interesting because it's like, I'm not sure how I feel about it yet because I'm
Yeah.
like, I mean, I would love to try it. I really would, but I'm just not sure. I don't know. I've never done it. And so I'm just like, we got that offer and I was like, "Ah, yeah, like I'd love to give it a try, but I'm like, is it beneficial to
Yeah.
like have a band do that like at different locations, like because like it wasn't even in California or in Arizona, it was in Nevada. And
Oh,
so
okay.
what would have to happen is like the two boys in Arizona and the two guys out here in Cali are going to have to drive to Nevada, play this 3 band show, and live stream it. And it's like it's interesting because I think about it. I'm like I thrive off of how the audience interacts with me,
Yeah.
and when I'm on stage or when I perform, I vibe off the audience or the energy of the audience. And so I'm like, you got to do what you got to do. I definitely agree. You got to do what you got to do. But it's like, it's interesting that this is kind of like what's going on right now. Nothing's happening until 2021. And like, I definitely think, it's the right thing to do, but it's really hard for bands to figure out exactly what to do right now because this has never happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this has never happened, and like this is kind of like separating from what bands are like. Because like I've been bringing this topic up with a lot of different people because it's like, what's going to happen when shows do come back? There's so many big bands so say they were having a tour, got canceled, or they didn't have a tour and they were going to tour at the end of 2020. So now when 2021 hits, it's going to be like this mass wave of all these big bands going on so many tours. It's like, so for like, I'm not saying we're a big band at all, but for like smaller bands, what I'm interested to see what's going to happen because I don't know. I don't really know how that's going to take if there's even going to be local spots for like Club Red anymore. It's going
Yeah.
to be just touring acts. Like what's I've been very curious to see what's going to happen about it because I'm not sure.
Yeah. I definitely have some theories and speculation. One thing that I think for sure, well, I don't want to say for sure, but one thing that I think might happen is starting in like March, maybe January, maybe a little earlier. But
Sure.
March is my like thinking. Starting in around March, we'll probably start to see local shows again. I think,
Yeah.
which will be very small capacity local shows, but it'll be local shows, and then
Yeah.
we won't see probably a national touring act until probably April or May of next year. But when that happens, it's like you're saying. I think we're either going to see an influx of just like a ridiculous amount of tours, which I don't think is very plausible.
Yeah.
I think that something like Warp Tour might come back, where we see a giant tour with a bunch of bands who all didn't get to go on tours and stuff like that, um, which will allow for us to kind of like still have smaller tours that have local openers and stuff like that. Granted, this is all speculation. This is just theories off of, history and experience in the industry. But that's kind of what I'm thinking or what I see.
Sure.
But to your point, I think that it is quite possible that we could experience, a lot of an influx of touring bands where local or smaller bands don't necessarily have
Yeah.
the ability to play these acts and stuff like that, which could kind of cause a little bit of an issue for these smaller bands. But
I think it
that's
could.
yeah, exactly, and that's why I'm saying that bands need to be pro. They need to put
Yeah, they
stuff out
really
there for
do.
themselves.
Now more than ever, like how
Yeah,
you said at the very beginning, it's not the time to sleep because like, the thing is about this is like luckily thankfully we have actually like the Dreamer Agency We Are Triumphant to help support us during like while this is all happening and like still push us as like hard as they possibly can at this point.
yeah,
But like for bands who aren't like even on a label or like stuff like that, it's kind of hard for them because I mean, it's already like decently hard for us, but like think about it this way, like how like so say if like you were on a come up and there was like this tour package coming out, like you're not able to play shows, so you can't really prove yourself. Your EPK is kind of on a pause because like you can't be like, oh, look at this tour we did. Like we just did like this 3 week long local tour, and you can't put that on your EPK anymore. So like just like being able to show to labels, like say you're trying to pitch yourself to a label right now, or pitch yourself to a touring agent or anything along the lines of that, you don't really have anything to pitch. Like you don't have anything to be like, hey, check out what we're doing, because no one's doing anything.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do is put out a music video if you're lucky, and then go to a recording studio if they'll let you be in a recording studio. And that is the hardest thing I think about this right now, is like for small bands to be able to catch that upswing for them.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty hard right now. And just because all the big bands are still trying to stay relevant, and like, like YouTube platforms like Dreambound and Beheading the Traitor and Chugcore, like they're like putting out videos like every day now, where it used to be like so spaced out, but now everyone's trying to stay relevant so hard. It's like it's just tough.
Yeah, it's become like, we thought it was saturated before. It's going to become even more
Way
saturated,
more.
or it
Yeah.
is becoming more saturated as we speak right now. Wow, man. Wow. All right, let's end on that sour note. And I want to
Sure.
ask
Yeah.
you,
No. Yeah.
I want to ask you a question that I like to end every interview with. If you've heard my interviews, I'm sure you know what it is. But I like to say, or ask you, what if you had a piece of advice to give a new hustler out there, someone who is just trying to break into the scene or break into the music industry, trying to start a band, whatever it is, what would it be?
Oh, yeah. I've been thinking about this question a lot, because I know this is your question right here. And this is the Hustler podcast, man. But no, if you want to really make it anything, like it took me years to be able to figure out the knowledge that I even have today, and like I don't even think I even have all the answers. I don't think anything that I have necessarily right now in my life. I don't think I necessarily have all the answers for anything. But I think what you can do is I've said it a few times on the podcast already, but the professionalism in anything you do, whether it's a podcast, whether it's music, whether it's a music video, whether you're a cinematographer, a photographer, anything you do, you gotta have that professionalism. Like I can't tell you how many times I've seen like some super sick bands, but with a shit attitude, or like, just a shit look, not make it, even though they had plenty of chance, like that happens everywhere and anywhere. So what'd you say?
You lagged for a second.
Oh, I lied.
Yeah, right before you said chance, and then it like came back and said chance, and then you were speaking, but you weren't moving, so it was like,
darn this Wi-Fi. No, yeah, that's pretty much the main thing, though. It's just you got to have that professionalism, and if you want the chance to be able to make it big, it takes time, for sure. Like just because like bands don't need, like, you don't even need to play a show to get signed. That's the thing. Like you said earlier, like we got signed after 2 songs. You don't need a show to get signed. If you want to get signed, that's your goal. Sick, do it. But the professionalism is where that all comes into play. Like if you're doing it for fun, cool, but like use all your avenues. Use all your avenues to be able to make yourself like as big as you think you can possibly get yourself. Like you gotta know to promote. You gotta know, like, educate yourself. I think that's my second biggest thing, is along with the professionalism, never think you're too big to not learn from somebody.
oh, dude,
you
yes.
know
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
no one is too big for shit. Don't have a big head. Like, who knows? Like, you could be talking to like this fan in the crowd who could be bigger than you eventually one day. Like, that's why I love talking to fans. It's like, you don't know whoever you're going to meet one day. Who knows? Like, somebody could be a connection somewhere. Like, be nice to your people. Don't be an asshole. It's like, we're all trying to do the same thing, and don't pretend like, oh, like I'm better than this band, or I'm better than these people, so I'm not going to support them. Like, support each other, dude. Because like, yeah, like, sure, like, make your product as big as you possibly can, but like, do that for you, and don't down anyone else's shit. Just like, do what you have to do, and the work will show.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay humble and hustle, man. Like
100%. It's stay humble. There's no reason to go targeting anyone. There's enough drama in the world right now that we don't need to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. No, I 100% agree with that, and I think that professionalism is obviously very important. That's the whole reason that I created this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I think that was all 100% right, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. I really enjoyed talking to you, man. Thanks so much for coming on and
Dude,
hanging out with
same.
me.
Yeah, no, this is great. We finally did it after like
Yeah,
how many times we
dude.
for those who don't know who are watching this, me and dude, we've tried scheduling this at least 3 times.
Oh, dude,
At least three.
at least.
And like yeah, we finally
Something
did it.
always ends
So
up coming up and makes it difficult. But it's good to finally have a conversation with you, recorded conversation for everyone to see, the whole world. But no, man,
yeah, no.
I think for real, like I think you brought a lot of value to my listeners, and I'm really glad that I got to have you on and talk to you.
I really appreciate it, dude. Thanks for having me. Like, and congrats to you guys. Like, I'm stoked to see everything you got going on, and fucking keep going at it, dude. You're killing it.
Just keep hustling, bro. Just keep swimming like Dory.
That's right. Dory kept swimming, dude. Kept swimming.
Kept swimming. All right, man. Where can they find you? What's your tags and all that?
Instagram, we're Marked Life Sound. Facebook, we're Marked _Life. I know the semicolon is super stupid, but guess what? We're different, so you know what it is.
I like that defense.
Dude, quick side note, Caleb came up with that idea and he's like, let's put a semicolon. I'm like, don't be a cock, And so, so now we have a semicolon, but whatever.
I was wondering why that was there. I was like, man, this is so confusing. Why is it?
We're using it right, but it's like people are like, whenever people spell our name, they're like just Marked Life. They don't do the semicolon. I'm like, fucking goddamn it, like whatever. We should have just kept the semicolon out, but whatever. It's Marked _Life, one word. YouTube, Marked _Life. Our name is Marked Life, not Marked _Life. I'm just gonna shut up, dude.
You guys are on everything. You're on Spotify.
Yeah, we're on everything. Find us on Apple Music, Spotify. It's all Marked Life. YouTube. Find us wherever. Send us a message. Whatever you need.
Sick, man. Well, Sam, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, dude. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, man. Definitely. Catch you later. All right.
Later.